Welcome back, students. This is a short demonstration on the uterus. Okay. Now the uterus is a childbearing organ. So it is an internal reproductive organ of female. This uterus is made up of thick wall and it is a hollow muscular organ. Okay. It is situated in the lesser pelvis. Okay, so location is in the lesser pelvis between the urinary bladder anteriorly. So anterior it is in relation to the urinary bladder, and posteriorly it is in relation to that of the rectum. Now, if you are seeing this cervix, uterus and cervix as an specimen from its anterior aspect, and you can see that the body of the cervix, and the body of the uterus and cervix, they are almost pear-shaped. It is having a broad base above. This is the upper end of the uterus, and this is cervix, which has the lower end of this. So this is piriformis in shape. So the shape is piriformis in nature. Now uterus has three parts. The first part, or the upper part, is the fundus. This part, see this? This part is the fundus, and this fundic part, gives on its lateral side, it gives attachment to this tubular structure here on right as well as on left side, and these are called as the fallopian tubes or uterine tubes. So the fundus is a part which lies above the opening of the two fallopian tubes. So this topmost part of the uterus is called as fundus. Then there comes the body, and body is the part from fundus right up to this constriction which is seen here. This constriction is called as the isthmus. So between the opening of the fallopian tube inside the uterus, that from there, that is from fundus right up to this constriction which is called as isthmus, this part of the uterus is called as body. And the part below this, this part below this isthmus or constricted part is called as the cervix. It is called as the cervix. So this fundus is a dome-shaped structure, and this lies above the opening of the fallopian tubes. Body of the fundus is isthmus, up to the isthmus. So the fundus and this, body, they are covered by the peritoneum. That's why it is looking very smooth. If you see the posterior surface, this is also very smooth. Don't bother for these depressions. This was for the threadening of the specimen. So this specimen was just mounted into the jar of the museum, and from where I have it taken out. That's why these pits are there. They are not normally present. They are not normally present. Now, if we cut a section, coronal section from the body of the body, then the cavity will appear as a triangular cavity. Triangular. Having an anterior wall and the posterior wall of the cavity. So it has a triangular uterine cavity resembling to the piriform shape of the body. Now cervix is below the isthmus, as I said it, and it is having a spindle-shaped cavity. It will have a spindle-shaped cavity. Now let us see the external portion of cervix. Cervix is having two parts. Cervix is having two parts, and this cervix part which is projecting into the vagina as seen here. See this part of the cervix which is smooth, lined by the stratified squamous non-keratinized epithelium. That's why it is smooth, and this part of the cervix is project inside the upper end of the vagina. And this part of the cervix is called as portio vaginalis. That means the part which lies within the vagina. While this part which is seen rough from where I have dissected it from the vagina, this part lies above the vagina, and that is called as the supravaginal part. So the cervix will have two parts, a supravaginal and a part within the vagina. So again I will repeat: fundus, body, and then the cervix. And cervix has two parts, supravaginal and the vaginal part. So these are the parts of the uterus, okay, parts of the uterus. Let us see the cavity of the uterus. As I said that if coronal section is cut, then the cavity will be triangular, and onto the base of this triangular cavity there will be opening of the two uterine tube. Here is a specimen which shows the section which is not triangular, okay? Which is not showing the triangular cavity, because this section is passing, okay, in the midline, okay? So this is sagittal section, not the coronal section. So it is showing the various parts of the uterus. See, this part was the fundus, and in this cavity on the upper end where the tube will open on both the lateral side, that will be the opening of the uterine tube, and above which this part is the fundus part, okay? This will be the fundus part. And then this cavity which is seen here, it is a vertical cavity, slit like space, and this is the anterior wall of the uterus, this will be the posterior wall of the uterus, and this is the cavity, uterine cavity. Now if you see the layer of this uterus, this is on outer and anterior and posterior surface. It is covered by the peritoneum. So this is called as perimetrium, okay? And then this thick layer of the smooth muscle which forms the wall of the uterus, anterior wall and posterior wall, this is called as myometrium. And then there will be a epithelial or mucous lining in the cavity which is called as endometrium. So there is perimetrium, myometrium and endometrium which is lining to the uterine cavity. Now this is the cervical canal, this is the cervix. So the upper part of the cervix is the supravaginal, and this is that lower part of the cervix which opens into the vagina or protrude into the vagina. It is the vaginal part of the cervix or portio vaginalis, and there is a very narrow cavity which in anteroposterior or coronal section will have a spindle shape, okay, but here it is a slit. Now these depressions which you are seeing, fossa like structure in the posterior wall of the cervix, these are abnormalities. These are this probably dilated cyst of the glands, cervical glands are there. So this is not normal, please, okay? I was not having a normal specimen to show you. So this is the abnormality which is present here, right? Now you have understood the cavity and the cervix of the cavity of cervix and that of the uterus and its wall. Let us come to the broad ligament which is attached onto the lateral margin of this body of the uterus. See this is the lateral margin of the body of the uterus, and here is the attachment of the fold of the peritoneum, and this fold of the peritoneum from the lateral margin of the body of the uterus is called as the broad ligament. See this is the double layer. The peritoneum covering to the anterior surface will reflect back from fundus and will be going backside. So this will be the double fold of the peritoneum. See this double fold of peritoneum. It is a fold of the peritoneum which extend from the lateral margin of the uterus up to the lateral wall of the pelvis, So there is in its lower part, the broad ligament is not there, okay? It is not present there. And the uppermost margin of this broad ligament, there is the presence of this tube called as the uterine tube. So uppermost boundary of this tube is formed by the uterine tube. That means this peritoneum coming from anterior and going to posterior also covers the fallopian tube at its upper margin. Now this uterine tube is usually 10 to 12 centimeter long, but this uterine tube is not that long here, and the reason is that here in the middle you are seeing a gap, this point. You are seeing a gap. That means this lady must have undergone a surgical operation for family planning called as tubectomy. So a part of the tube was cut, okay, and ligated on both the sides. So this is the tubectomy. That's why this fallopian tube is not having the normal length. It is short length. See this on. If you will see this fallopian tube on its lateral side, you will see that this is the opening of the fallopian tube is seen. This is called as abdominal ostium. So here in my finger is the opening of the fallopian tube, which is I mean to say guarded here, or it is lined by the finger-like projection of this fallopian tube called as the fimbria, okay, fimbria. And one of these fold of this projection will go and get attachment to the structure called as the ovary. Here this is the ovary, okay, it is almond-shaped internal gonads of female. Here it is a little more, okay, little more. But then this fallopian tube or the fimbriated end of the fallopian tube, okay, this will go and will be lying in relation to the ovary, so that the ovum, which will release every month, okay, that can be taken up by this fallopian tube, which will be brought to the uterine cavity after fertilization or otherwise also without fertilization, okay. So this is the fallopian tube is here, okay, or the broad ligament. Now in another specimen, I will try to show you the complete length of the fallopian tube, and will show you a little more part of the broad ligament, okay. This is the uterus here, okay, and this is that from the fundus of the uterus, this is that fallopian tube is coming. See this from here, this border on the superior border of the broad ligament, this fallopian, it is about 10 centimeter long. So this is that fallopian tube, and you can see here the double fold of peritoneum, which is semi-transparent, and in this the blood vessels you can see the running. This is the broad ligament of the uterus, okay. Okay, this starts from the lateral margin of the, I mean to say lateral margin of the uterus, and then it goes, okay. Now this is the actual broad ligament, okay, and I will show you the presence of another structure here in the broad ligament. One was the fallopian tube on the top, okay, which you have seen here, and I will show you another structure of the broad ligament. There is another structure here which is attached to the lateral upper angle of the fundus here, and this is the structure which also goes between two layers of the peritoneum of the broad ligament, and this is the round ligament of the uterus, okay. This is structure, this is the round ligament of the uterus, and here was our fallopian tube, okay. This will go towards the I mean to say this round ligament of uterus will go into the this deep inguinal ring, okay. It will go into the deep round ligament of uterus. So this is the fallopian tube. The other end of the fallopian tube, the fimbriated end, which I have shown you in the other specimen, here it is broken. But then let us see to this broad ligament. Now I have just reversed it. We are seeing this broad ligament from posterior surface, and from here there is a band of the fibrous tissue is going in the broad ligament on the posterior aspect, okay, and this is the ligament of the ovary, suspensory ligament of the ovary, which is going towards the ovary. This is ovary, okay, this is ovary attached onto the posterior surface of the broad ligament through the fold of the peritoneum, and that is called as mesovarium. So this we are seeing the broad ligament, and this is the fallopian tube, and here it is attached, ovary is attached to the posterior surface. This is the ovary, okay, and it is large, okay, so a little abnormality because I can palpate here, there are cysts seen here, fluid filled cavities are seen here. So let us This is the ovary. Now I will tell you about the fallopian tube, which is present in the upper margin of this broad ligament, and it has many parts, and this is hardly about 10 to 12 centimeter, and this will have the parts like uterine part or interstitial part, which is within the uterine cavity. Okay, then it will have isthmus, ampullary part, which is the most dilated part, and in this ampullary part, in this specimen, I can show you that ampullary part. See this part here, it is the dilated part, and it should be, in a normal case, it should be 5 centimeter long, and this is that ampullary part of the tube here, where the fertilization takes place, and this is the fimbriated part, okay, or after that it will become infundibular part, where fimbrias are present. This is the last 1 centimeter or 2 centimeter part of the fallopian tube, okay, fallopian tube. You can see the normal ovary is here in this specimen. There it was large, a little large, it also here it is, okay, and then from the posterior surface of the broad ligament, it is attached through this fold called as the mesovarium, and again the ligament of the ovary is here coming from the fundus, okay. That's all. I think this is ovary I have shown you. I have shown you the fallopian tube and its part. I have shown you the uterus, fundus, body, and the cervix, and 2 parts of the cervix, that is the portio vaginalis and the supravaginal part, okay. I have shown you the cavity of the uterus, okay, and this is the, I mean to say, cervical canal, as it is called, cavity of the cervix, okay, it is the cavity of the cervix. Now this cervix, or this epithelial lining of stratified squamous, which lies within the vagina, is the common site for the cancer, okay. So this part, this is opening, this is the opening of the cervical canal or cervix, and these lips, they are called as upper and lower lips of cervix. These are the areas which are the site for the cancer. Okay, thank you very much for watching this short video on the demonstration of the uterus, the fallopian tube, broad ligament, and the ovary.